Mark Rogers TV, college football, back with you to continue our series where we look at all the postseason teams for 2017, all the bowl games, and run through the history for you. A little history lesson before you take on the Military Bowl, Virginia and Navy on December 27th. Both teams with 6-6 records this season. Virginia out of the ACC, of course, at 3-5 in postseason play for the first time in 7 years, and Navy at 4-4 in the American Conference. So Navy at 6-6. 4-4 in conference play with one of its down years in recent times. This, of course, a home game, one of the few home games in bowl play. Annapolis, Maryland, Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. And Navy won this bowl game last year, 2 years ago against Pitt at home, 44-28. Virginia, 7-11 all-time in postseason play. Most of that were coming under George Welsh. First postseason game in Cavaliers history wasn't until 1984 when they defeated Jim Everett and Purdue at the Peach Bowl at old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, 27-24. In fact, George Welsh went 4-8 in bowl games, 3 times playing Georgia in the span of 6 seasons from 1995 to 2000. The Cavaliers and the Bulldogs played 3 times. The Bulldogs won it twice. George Welsh's win was at the Peach Bowl, a game in which Tiki Barber and Skeet Jones were the offensive and defensive MVPs for the Cavs. Al Groh, 3-2 in bowl play. His wins coming over West Virginia and Pitt, in particular in the Continental Tire Bowl. His last bowl game was in 2011, and the last bowl game for the program in 2011 against the Auburn Tigers, 43-24 at the Chick-fil-A Bowl in Atlanta. Navy has played in 22 postseason games in its illustrious history, winning 10, losing 11 with 1 tie, going back to the 1924 Rose Bowl and Navy's first appearance in postseason play. We mentioned the Rose Bowl a number of times as the first game played in postseason history for many of these schools. For Navy, it was a tie against the Washington Huskies, 14 apiece. Their next bowl game came at the 1955 Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss and 1958 Cotton Bowl against Rice. Those were both victories for the Midshipmen. Maybe the most famous Navy bowl game in history was actually a loss, the 1964 Cotton Bowl. And this is why. Texas #1, Navy, number 2 in the country. Pardon me. With Roger Staubach at quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner, they lost to the Longhorns 28-6. Ken Niumatalolo, 4-5 during his tenure there at Navy in postseason play. He's had a couple of Power 5 wins, defeating Missouri in the Texas Bowl and also Pitt, the game we mentioned 2 seasons ago, 44-28, despite giving up an opening kickoff touchdown to the Panthers. Lost last season, did Navy to Louisiana Tech in the same bowl game, 48-45. In the Armed Forces Bowl, actually, not the military, but the Armed Forces Bowl. This Military Bowl has been around since 2008. It's been called several things, but Military Bowl in the last few years, the inaugural game was Wake Forest defeating Navy 29-19. Riley Skinner was the MVP. And in this series between Navy and Virginia, you would think this, old historic institutions that they are, of course, and both coming from the same general geographic Atlantic region there, that they have played 39 times in history. I'll give you 2 seconds to guess who's won the most games and what the series standing is at 39 games. Navy, 28-11. Virginia, though, did win the last 5 games in the series. The last time they played was in 1994, and Virginia actually won a game in 1992, 53-0. over Navy. It's the Military Bowl with Navy taking on Virginia, a couple 6-6 teams getting back into postseason play in the case of the Cavaliers. We will run down bowl history, continuing with the Camping World Bowl from Orlando next with Oklahoma State and Virginia Tech right here on Mark Rogers TV.